All right. Welcome, one and all. We are back with a brand new edition of the wide world of electronic sports on a special day. It's Tuesday, thanks to the holiday. Labor Day just passed. I'm joined by my co-host here, Rodney Conyers Jr. How you doing, Rod?
I'm doing well, man. I think yesterday, we were just all kind of chilling. We're all coming off of a long weekend, which is well deserved. Not just us at Shacknews, but a lot of people out there work hard. So why not take another day off? But if you're some of those people who decided to go to work too, I feel you and I commend you. We need you out there in the world, and I hope you made time and a half, time and a double, however that works. So
Very true.
I'm ready to talk some gaming.
Yes, sir. Yeah, we got plenty to cover. There was a long weekend, but there was also plenty of events going down over the past couple of days, and plenty going down both in the Smash community and in the Nintendo community in general this past week. So I guess we can hop right in. But
Yeah, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's get it, man. This wonderful little event called PAX happens once every so many blue moons, man. We might have heard of it once or twice around here at Shacknews, and yeah, I'm very excited, to talk about this because I feel like PAX doesn't get to happen very often. Not as much as I'm used to seeing it in the realm of fighting games, but let's be honest, Smash deserves nothing. So the fact that we even have this, I think, really makes me happy. Of course, big shout out, of course, Panda for pushing this through. Not exactly sure how this was able to come into fruition, but it is here and it did come to pass. Now, they ran 3 events in this weekend, which is something that we haven't quite seen from Nintendo since the launch of like Nintendo Versus and the Switch and all these games that they had kind of coming out simultaneously. They're able to kind of squeeze something out here again at PAX. This time, not PAX East, but PAX West, which used to be PAX Prime. Forgot about that. We did the Almost Pro Smash Invitational, which features some of the best players to ever do it in the world. On top of that, we were able to run a brand new Splatoon 3 event, which we'll talk about a little bit later, and of course Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, which as much as we've all grown up with Mario Kart, let's be real, Denny, I don't have the words competitive and Mario Kart associated together, bro. Do you? Because I don't. Yeah. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Uh-oh. Did we summon him early? Wait. Wait a minute. Stream, did my eyes deceive me? Was that the man with the briefcase? The door is open, Asif. The water's fine. Mm. Also, really quick, Shaq News said they can't hear you, Denny. I don't know if you aren't turned up or maybe is it fixed by now? Maybe I'm seeing this late. Okay.
Oh, it's free. Oh my gosh, it's freaking Discord. For some reason, Discord and OBS are not being friendly to each other. All right, you guys should be
Oh,
able to hear me now.
okay, bet. So I'm gonna ask you the question one more time. Don't worry, we're gonna let you jump back into that. So we have PAX. Again, came around every so many blue moons in the world of gaming, especially in competitive games. We don't get to do these very often in Smash because again, Smash deserves absolutely nothing after the last 2 years that we've had, and I can't stress that enough. But we were able to run not one, not two, but 3 tournaments this weekend, which is something that we don't really see from Nintendo very often. We haven't seen a gaming convention boom like this since probably the last PAX and before that the Switch launch. So we had an Almost Pro, Super Smash
Yeah.
Bros. Panda Cup Invitational, Splatoon 3 Invitational, and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Now, again, just to reiterate, in my world, I don't have the words Mario Kart 8 and competitive slammed together in my head. But Denny, give me your thoughts on that again.
Yeah, so like I was saying, I think that while Mario Kart hasn't had, a competitive esports scene the way that, you consider a traditional type of esports scene, I think that there would be more potential for something like that if there was more support on Nintendo's end to make some things work from, like the spectator side, dynamic camera angles, putting together different leagues. Because there are the course and expansion packs that have been coming out that people,
Yes.
seem to be enjoying. So there is enough hype for Mario Kart in general that I think that there's a. This would be something I think that even though they're running Mario Kart into the ground currently, I think that by the time that they reach a point where they're ready to release a new Mario Kart game, maybe they'll go all in more on that idea of an esports scene in comparison. Because obviously, I think Splatoon has more potential for an esports side because they're hitting the ground running with the kind of things that they have planned for the game, and spectator mode, and just the way that the scene itself, like, it looks fun to both watch and play. Which I think is the element that Mario Kart needs more of if they want to have that kind of competitive scene. But I mean, people did show up for this, so maybe there's more potential there.
Yeah, maybe so. I think, when it comes to just the longevity of a game like Mario Kart has, just not in competitive gaming, just gaming culture in general, makes me wonder, like, are people really ready for a universe where competitive Mario Kart exists? Because I'll be real, Denny, lost a lot of good friends over Mario Kart. I lost a lot of good friends over two things back in the day: Mario Kart and GoldenEye. Okay, there's
I
some
mean,
people I don't
you
even
gotta leave
talk
that
to.
kind of stuff on the streets. You can't be bringing that back out afterwards. That's
Bro,
how
I'm
you.
from the fighting game community. I can't let it go, bro. You know that. Like, we gonna money match. We gonna figure it out. You know what I'm saying? No, I'm joking. All jokes aside, though, it's very strange to see a game, like Mario Kart be ran with such efficiency. But again, coming from Nintendo, it just obviously makes sense. But before we dive too much into that, I just want to talk about Smash really quick. Now, we talked about this in Slack, and I'm going to bring it here into the forefront as well. There are too many goddamn tournaments. Okay, can't stress that enough. But I feel like because we've had something like this at PAX, something a little bit more personalized, a little bit more intimate, it kind of cushions that blow. But there's still a lot of top professional talent here. In first place, we had Aaron, who had a hell of a weekend, defeating Light, I believe. Of course, best player in the United States, and of course also defeating Cola, who both players happen to be also teammates. They're all on Critical Esports. Larry Lur was in there as well, running his traditional trio. He ran Wolf, Falco, and Me Brawler. Justice came through with the Min. Mine came through with the Luigi. Moxie came through with the Wolf gameplay. Big shout out to Moxie. I believe they transitioned from Pokemon Trainer over to Wolf, but the Pokemon Trainer is still Chris. Friends, don't get it twisted. Bobby Wasabi, who's actually a part of the Panda team, the Panda content creation team, at that very intelligent person, came through, got seventh place with Villager, a character that's a bit of a blast from the past. We are one of those. I'm one of those people that believes that the character was good once upon a time, and then DLC happened. Now, I like to say, hey, we need to adjust, adapt, get better. But DLC definitely hurt Villager. Yeah, just absolutely whooped this character's ass. Wadi came through at ninth, so placing below Bobby Wasabi, who's not sponsored as a player on Panda.
Interesting.
Wadi placed ninth, running Mewtwo and Rob. Mewtwo came back. Cantrip came through with the Bowser Jr. Thomas 446 came through. I believe this is just like, yes, Pyro and Mithra. Good lord, I'm getting old. They say the eyes are the first thing to go, friends. Papa Frank with Crom. Jut, somebody else who's on the Panda team, came through with Incineroar. Herm with Kazuya Mishima. General Edurius. Edregious. Sorry, I'm tripping. Came through with Peach. Or no, ZSS and Aloha with Pikachu. So we have ourselves a pretty diverse bracket here from first to 13th place, which is really awesome. Aaron, of course, left with $3,000, but I think more than anything left with a new sense of belonging in the community. I mean, Aaron has been around for a very long time in the Smash scene, and I feel like he's one of those top players that people sleep on and forget about, but able to persevere through with some of the best players of the PGR here. You got to be feeling yourself after you win something like this.
Yeah, I like seeing some of this Diddy Kong action happening.
Yeah, Diddy Kong is just one of them characters that people are starting to sleep on a little bit. And now they're becoming a little bit more woke after Aaron has done what he's done. It's very easy And Danny, I know you know this better than anybody. A fighting game comes out, we always want to know how the characters that were strong in the last title fare in this title. And people were quick to count Diddy Kong out. And then he kind of had a bit of a resurgence, and then he disappeared again because I'll be honest, Aaron didn't disappear, but Aaron was the one that was kind of playing this character to top level efficiency. But I'm glad that we had a bracket like this that was so small but yet so big at the same time, where a character like Diddy Kong could really shine through.
Yeah, I mean, it's like this is definitely a statement for Aaron in this realm, and yeah, it looks like there was a solid turnout with folks talking about it this weekend. So I like seeing some events at big gaming events like PAX go down. But yeah, there was a ton happening this weekend. Yeah, I mean, obviously at PAX itself, but good to see that there was some solid turnout though.
100%, bro. And also, friends, I made a tweet, and I'm just going to talk about the tweet here. I didn't send it in the Slack because I didn't even think to send it earlier. But PAX is what Smash Esports could look like if all of our circuits and production teams and organizations could get along and come together for something glorious in the middle. Not to say what we have right now isn't good. Of course, I'm very happy that we have some sort of small sense of sustainability. But if we could all come together, like Asif is with us here, we might have ourselves some. He's not going for it. He's not going
my man's came in with the head shake. Like,
come on. This is what Smash would look like, really? If everyone got along, Rod?
Maybe
there's no Leo, no tweak. Like, this is what we're gonna get. Like,
maybe
it's a nice arena, nice presentation, but like, no. This is not like, this was, who was running this? Was it Nintendo? Was it PAX? Was it Reed Pop? Was it Panda?
I want to say Panda.
Who paid for that space at PAX?
Well, you make a good point. That's the point.
That's the point, Rod. That is my point. Who paid for that?
Man,
that's true. Very true.
Came in and was just like, all right, trying to hit that real quick. Because
you guys got me riled up. First, leading with Kart, and I had to sit there and just bite my lip and listen to you guys talk about that bullshit. And now this. Like, this is some sort of bastion of hope for Smashers? That was the wackest lineup of players I've seen all year long. And I watch all this crap. It's like, what, 3 out of 4 people in top 4 are all on Team Moist? Like, I watch a lot of Smash. We have not seen a top 4 that was 3/4 Moist Esports all year. And that's no offense to these players. But it's hard for one team to have 75% of the representation in the semifinals of anything.
I was just trying to find the light in the dark.
There's no light. This is darkness. There's no light here. What are you talking about?
It was a 10K open, tourney. They had a little bit of cash they were rolling with for a PAX event. I felt like, yes. I think that, like you said, there's the burnout of all the events happening.
Did you watch the Kart stream? It was like hard to pay attention to. They didn't have player names like underneath the video, so you're just like, I don't know who I'm watching at any time. The casters were kind of fumbling over each other because there's 16 screens on screen, which just seemed like too much at one point.
Yeah, I don't really like the layout of how they broadcast the Kart stuff. It just doesn't.
And at the end of the day, like, why are we like, Rod? Your point about Kart not being competitive, you're dead right. It has rubber banding built into it. It has a freaking blue shell. It is not a test of skill at all. You could hang back and then get the bullet bill, and it's like, that's a strat. That's a viable strat in that game. Like, so yeah, I guess there is a meta for competitive Kart. But as a card-carrying member of F-Zero Twitter, I'm not going to sit here and act like Nintendo doesn't have a perfect IP that they could turn into an esport tomorrow if they gave a shit, which they don't.
I feel like there would be potential for them to do the same thing with Mario Kart as F-Zero if they were actually going that route for a new game. I don't think that turning Mario Kart 8 into that is the right idea, but...
No, that's my point. Like, this is way too late for this. And, like, Smash has a spectate mode. And it's a decent one, right? what we saw with the Splatoon stream, they have, get this, a LAN mode.
Yeah.
They have a LAN mode for Splatoon, and it's private matches, and it has room for 2 spectators. 2! So, like, that's an esports ready game. And I agree with what you said earlier, Denny, about that. Like, I think Splatoon 3, out of the 3 things we watched, because I'm not going to act like 5 people showing up for a Smash tournament in Seattle is like an achievement of anything. Especially after the past month of Smash tournaments we've had. Like, and they got, what, a ham sandwich for attending? Like, you gotta know who is putting the money behind the PAX Arena. And that is Reed Pop. That was like, we need content. And Nintendo was like, here, you know, we can do this for you. I wonder who paid for what there, is all I'm saying. Because, like,
I mean, that's
I don't
fair.
think, you know what I mean? Because Nintendo doesn't really seem to want to invest much in esports at all. And that's why, like, you'll notice Panda ran the Smash stream, but Nintendo, you know, you had Jordan on the desk for Kart, and it looked like Nintendo was running that Splatoon 3 thing. And what is Nintendo doing with that Splatoon 3 event? It's the game comes out this week, right? So they view it as a promotional thing. That's Nintendo. You talked about it, E3 2018, right? Like, they had a Smash tournament, right? Reggie handed out something. Like, I get that. Like, Nintendo does this to promote their game. But what I think's interesting about Splatoon, and why I'm actually very into it as an esport, I think it has a future, is that they actually gave us some things that you would need if you were having an in-person event. And I think it makes sense to pair it with Smash. And Kart to a lesser extent. But, like, you saw it at, was it SmashCon? Was there a Splatoon tournament at SmashCon? Or?
It was Shine.
So, like, you've seen it before, where there's, like, you know, we already have the tournament setups. We already have the Switches there. Well, we could run Splatoon also. So, like, I could see Splatoon become, like, a secondary event at Smash events. If there is enough of a player base.
You know?
Yeah, I'd love to see it too. And just to backtrack a little bit, or rewind rather, you know, what I was saying was, like, there's a timeline out there that exists somewhere in the gaming multiverse where, like, PAX, I feel like PAX always, the production is always clean from top to bottom. We know that. You guys have actually been to PAX in person. You guys know better than I do. And I just always felt like the way they handle the tournaments, even though a lot of them are smaller brackets, you know, looking at that level of esports, the way that they promoted it, the way that they had it out there. I mean, yes, it was a smaller bracket, and sure, Panda could have did a little bit better at promoting it, but honestly, the less tournaments, the better these days. Even though it wasn't invitational, I'm like, damn, like, if we could just get each other to work together. And of course, this is just me throwing shit at the wall, hoping that it sticks. But I'm like, damn, we got all these resources to some degree. We have great relationships with PAX and these events. I'm like, this is what it could look like. But again, we're divided into 3 ways: two circuits, 2 stream teams. Nobody's really kind of working together, and if they are, it's not at the level that it should be. So I just look at PAX like, damn, like, this is what esports and Smash could really look like on a consistent base. This is sick. But
you're right when you say look like, but why is it that Summit is holding an invitational that has Spargo and MKLeo and, like, the top players in the world attending, and why weren't any of those people at PAX, Rod?
That's a good point.
Money. So, like, this was a half measure. Like, yes, the production was fine for PAX Arena. I have nothing bad to say about the production of the Smash tournament. And the casters are what the Smash community seems to be used to at this point. You know, Nintendo used to keep D1 and Kitaro around for a while too, so their judgment may not be the best when it comes to picking casters for these events. All that aside, like, it's money. Who won this? Moist. It was Aaron, who's a Diddy man. How much did he win?
$3,000, and then Cola with $1,500, Light with $1,000, Larry Lur $800, couple 650s, couple 500s, couple 350s, and then nothing after 9th place.
If this is what your dream prize pot bonus is,
No,
we need to step your game up. Is all I'm saying.
I think
man.
he was just more talking about the production, and I feel like there's a bit to be said if there enough of the Smash team got together where they were actually working at a consistent basis, where events would just go, hey, you guys can handle this on your own if we put some money behind it, and you can show up for like your Dream Hacks or some of these other events that may be out of, a little bit different from what you might see, a Smash event at, and start spreading into those kind of realms a bit more. Maybe there'd be more opportunity for some of that to thrive in a way that makes sense compared to putting on 20,000 events and then everyone getting fatigue, even the audience getting fatigue with trying to keep up with everything happening.
Give me a less is more. Obviously, like give us less tournaments. I know we all can agree with that. But then, like also when I mentioned resources, being able to pull resources together. Is it 250,000 for the Smash World Tour and somewhere I think 150,000 for the Panda thing? I'm like, man, we work together. And again, I'm saying work together very loosely because I really don't know what that entails. But I know that like having 2 separate circuits and 3 stream teams and all these organizations actively working towards the same thing, but not with each other. I'm like, man, look at PAX. Like, this is what, for me, like the ultimate tournament or Melee or whatever, like the template for me is what PAX look like. Like, that is primetime production. Obviously not the money. Like, that's not a lot of good money. But if we could get people to pull those resources together and then we have a template like what PAX has said, I'm like,
I know how the behind the scenes works at an event like that, man. And that stream team, they made money.
Yeah.
That stream team made more money than the players did.
Yeah.
The convention center, they made more money than the players did.
Oh yeah.
There's definitely some casters that probably made more money than some of those players.
You ain't wrong about that.
You know what I mean? So like, I start looking at it, and it goes back to what I'm saying. Like, why Smash is so fractured is that there is like a regional thing going on, right? BTS is West Coast, and Maryland is VGBC, and there's whatever else. Yeah. But like, a lot of these things are structured in a way where the live stream production company makes money. So like, as long there wouldn't be this many tournaments if the production companies were losing money, is my point.
Fair. Yeah.
So when they act like hat in hand, oh, we can't pay this commentator's hotel or flight, they're lying. So like, I think it what your point is true, but it's like such a bigger point than what you're making. It's like there is a lot of greed and like contentiousness in the scene between the different orgs that are running things. And then there's also just the community versus Nintendo, where there's like a ton of contentiousness there too. So like, yeah, it would be nice, but man, I feel like I think calling it Almost Pro was maybe the most appropriate branding I've seen.
It is a bit weird for that kind of.
It's like you're already.
moniker.
It's like a dig on yourself calling it that. Because to Rod's point, the actual production was very professional.
Yeah.
But like calling it Almost Pro and being like, oh, Aaron won, but it was at Almost Pro. Like,
yeah,
I feel like they're negging themselves there.
I can't tell if that's supposed to be like because of them having bigger planned World Tour events, or
possibly.
It kind of reminds me of like a WWE NXT situation where they're like, here's our developmental players, and here's some highlights from my developmental players for now, or something. When these are real players in production.
It was great for Moist Critical's channel because he got to restream that and he got to watch his players play against each other, I guess. Yeah. But like, if you're a fan of actual competitive Smash, I thought it was kind of whack. Not that those players didn't play well. I just thought it's like what's going on with the Live Tour and PGA Golf right now. Like, if you don't have everyone playing, it's just less of an interesting tournament to me. MK Leob not being there is one glaring omission, but like, you don't have Onan there. You don't have like who has been at the center of this whole anti-Steve movement. I don't know if was DeBuzz there.
He was not. It was when let me pull the PGR stats back up. It was just Aaron Cola Light, Larry Lur, Moxie, and Wadi, which is odd because Wadi got 9th and was outplaced by somebody else on Panda who doesn't even play the game competitively at a professional level. Bobby Wasabi, whose tweets I sent earlier in the Slack, you know, them and Apostle were going back and forth on Twitter. He ended up getting 7th with Villager of all characters. So big shout out to Bobby for doing your damn thing.
Yeah, but what does 7th get you at that?
7th gets you $500. So probably not enough to, if you weren't sponsored by Panda, to fly yourself back home or to live for a couple of days or really to do anything. A ticket to PAX is like what, $200 to get in?
I'm sure they got in for free. Like,
well, yeah.
there's aspects of that where
be
like
elements to it, the invitational side.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If it's an invitational, you better be paying for their flight. You better be paying for their hotel.
Yeah,
you better
it's still
be
PAX.
getting them into the event. Yeah, it's like that's not cheap. You know, to stay around that convention area, to fly there. Yeah, so like, I hope they're taken care of. I'm happy for Aaron. I don't want to take down his victory here because like he struggled all year, and I think he's stuck with Diddy, and Diddy I think is the right character for him to play. It's just that I think to win with Diddy in this meta, you have to basically play perfect. Like you can't screw up at all. One mess up in a best of 5 match and you're pretty much done. So like, yeah, I think Aaron played very well, but yeah, I don't know.
It's the right combination of things. Right combination of players being there / not being there for him to, you know, triumph over, of course, you know, Light and Cola, you know, being higher than him on a PGR and just, you know, better results overall. But then, of course, notable missing players like Leo and Spark, like it was very good. And I think Aaron, you know, needed something like this.
And look, Larry Lure and Light, they're legit. Those are dogs, and they've been around for a long time, and Light's been playing well this year. So it's not like, I don't want to say like this was like a bad competition or anything. I'm just saying like when you have the fragmentation that we currently have in this scene, this doesn't help at all. Especially like, what is this now? The 6th week in a row that we've had a Smash tournament.
True, we're coming up on week 7. We got Riptide this weekend.
And like they're going, you know, this is something we haven't really brought up because I don't think Smashers pay attention to this at all. College football's back.
Yeah.
And that's
gonna
20 million people watching that shit. And they don't give a fuck about Smash. I'll tell you, like, I watched Michigan on Saturday, and I watched Ohio State and Notre Dame on Saturday night. So I didn't really watch any of the Smash thing. I watched a couple of the clips. I watched what happened on Sunday, you know, because we had, I think it was top 8 for Kart, top 8 for, or whatever, top whatever for Kart, and top 8 for, I don't know what the hell you call it. I don't know what whatever the hell Splatoon's top whatever was.
Yeah, top cut, top something.
But here's what happens this week that's going to pull away even more people from your ratings. And I know there's a lot of indoor kids who don't give a shit about sports that watch Smash Esports. But there are also a lot of people who watch professional sports. And NFL comes back this week. So if you're having your top 8s on Sunday nights, Sunday Night Football is going to take precedence in most households. So it's like...
Yeah, it's definitely going to eat up all that.
This needs to be a time where they slow down these tournaments. And I get it. I get it. They're going to keep doing them. And regionals should happen. I'm not saying don't do regionals or any of that. But like...
There's got to be a balance there, though.
We're all competing for screen time. Like us right now on this show, we're competing to get people to watch us instead of whatever else is on right now. I'm sure there's some lady in a hot tub on Twitch that has way more viewers than us right now. We're all competing, is my point. So, like, Smash kind of lives in its own little bubble, but, like, there are a lot of people who would watch your esport that are just not going to for the next 16 to 17 to 25 weeks. You know? It's like, that's why there are off seasons in things.
It's the way you see the same thing at the FGC. I mean, like, there's enough break in between for each major event. Yeah. You know, of course, you have, like, you know, where you used to have the Fall Classic and stuff like that would go down. And then, of course, like, Capcom Cup and stuff like that. But there's enough time between events that you're not feeling like, I'm overwhelmed by the amount of...
Yeah, the time between EVO and CO Taku, right? Or the time between CEO and EVO. Or the time between Combo Breaker and CEO. They at least give them a couple of weeks, you know?
Well, like, I think that the difference is, too, is at the FGC... Obviously, they have less events, which is not a bad thing, but also they do a better job in the community at painting a narrative on what events are needed to be attended. Not to say like they don't go to this, but it's like, hey, the big three are coming up: Combo Breaker, CO, and Evo. Hey, Capcom Pro Tour Finals are coming up. Hey, Rebels, another Conquest, Conquer, whatever thing. Like,
the scene respects history.
They respect history.
Like, if the history is there, the moments are there, and then of course you get the word of mouth, because people that are treating their players well and their team well and everything else well, then you want to come back to that event. Word of mouth spreads so that the next time it comes around, there's more people pulling up and saying, "Hey, we want to be part of this. I want to volunteer, et cetera, and that becomes more stable. But when
because I have a feeling I have a feeling with more planning, this PAX Arena event could have been way bigger, and it could have had bigger names.
I mean, we've seen it. We've seen it. Have that.
E3 2018 is a perfect example of what I'm talking about. That tournament was stacked. And like had everyone, you know what I mean? And even people who have been canceled since then. But my point is, like, it was the best possible competition on that day that you could have for that game. That's not what I felt about this. And I'm really using Leo as my guide here. If Leo's not showing up, I'm not showing up.
Well, before we go into more of that, we should probably mention the other Smash event that we haven't talked about at all yet. That's if you would take it off, Ryan, on your end. Since I'm sure who's probably involved more than I do.
I wish I was involved, but I'm just, it's funny. I'm just a guy in the community for some reason. I don't get involved with some of these teams the way I wish I could. But just really quick, on the topic of invitational, there's another one, which is Ludwig, kind of following the narrative of content creators doing cool shit in the realm of esports, almost arguably cooler than the organizations that should be doing these things. But Ludwig is hosting the biggest Smash invitational of all time, and follow up to his biggest Smash tournament prize pool of all time, I believe, just a few months ago. And it is, I'm clicking it right now, clicking. Yes, it is next month, October 21st through 23rd, and it looks like he has the heavy hitters like Austin is talking about. Like, if you're going to do an invitational, it needs to look like this. I believe there's Own It, MK Leo, Spargo, Gluttony, Cola. I mean, these are just the heavy hitters. Riddles, Tweak, and then over in Melee, Left and J-Mook, Hungrybox, all these guys. So, like,
but like, he's doing a Melee invitational alongside an Ultimate invitational. There's going to be a shit ton of people watching this, and he's putting money back there too. So, like, that's how you do it. And I think Ludwig is probably going to have, the community behind him there, because he's a member of it. I think it's going to be good.
Yeah, I think it is too.
I think the one thing it has going against him is that it's going to be on YouTube.
Yeah.
And where are they doing this?
I believe it's happening in Las Vegas, Nevada. So this is our third time going to Las Vegas if you're into platform fighters. Second time for Smash though this year.
Yeah, Double Down and then Ludwig's thing. Yeah, and this is happening. Ludwig was just swatted last week or 2 weeks ago?
Yeah. Horrible.
So, yeah, coming off the back of that. No, that stuff is fine. And like the stuff that Shacknews was planning on doing was very similar to that. But like, it's just further fragmented. But once again, I go by Leo, and guess who's going to be at Ludwig's thing? Leo. Also, Mango. Mango's a good example too. If Mango shows up for something, I'm tuning in. I'm more likely to tune in. Like if you have a Melee tournament and you have Zan, Mango, H-Box, J-Mook, an Axe, like, you're gonna watch that, and then if Leffen somehow shows up, like, those becomes more interesting. So I think I think that will be well received, and also like it's happening at a time where he's giving us almost 2 months notice.
Yeah, which is really good. I think what's missing from both circuits, and of course, I mean this with as much respect as possible, because I've never actually hosted a tournament, even though Rodfest is coming soon. I think there's a sense of community that's missing from both of the circuits that I think BTS, but more specifically Ludwig, seems to have a firm grasp on. Like, yes, I got money, but nobody's going to go to something if they don't know who's in charge of it, or if they don't really like the people who's running it. Like, and again, that's not just a Smash thing, that's just people in general. They have to like you to come and spend money. And I think he's doing that the right way. I think if Panda, and I've always felt this way about Panda, if they hosted some standalone events like they did once, like 5 years ago, they hosted an event called Too Hot to Handle. And it was pretty well received. They did their thing, and I thought maybe this is something to come. They're going to do more. But, they gave us the circuit, which is cool too, but I think a good way for people to really get involved with them, even separate from the realm of just you guys make really great content, like at a ground level, getting the community involved would be really, really good for them. But invitational seem to be more their speed, I guess.
I think that's the Nintendo aspect of it. Like there is a little Nintendo here. And I also think like you don't get that PAX Arena without it being held in Seattle. Nintendo is that town. Like Nintendo loves Seattle, and they had a very large presence there with their own booth. They had the Panda booth. They had PAX Arena. They had behind closed doors previews going on. Like Nintendo was back to like convention mode last weekend, like more so than we've seen in really a long time. Like this was, I would say, the most active convention Nintendo we've seen that resembled pre-pandemic behavior from them. So yeah, I think no, I do too. But I think you don't get this without their involvement. And that's kind of what we've been talking about since this show began, is that if Nintendo like actually, and I know there's Nintendo of Japan and Nintendo of America, but clearly Nintendo of America had a lot to do with this. And yeah, if they could nudge Panda in the right way, yeah, you could start to do some standalone events. But I really think you wouldn't, if VG didn't have that relationship with Xanadu, I don't think you see as many offline events run by them.
Yeah, I mean, it makes sense.
And the same is true for Summit. Like they have that compound in SoCal. Without that, I don't think you see as many events from them either. So then you remove those two from the equation, it suddenly becomes like what you were talking about, a little more spread out, a little less crazy. But that concentration, and it goes back to what I'm saying, these live stream companies are not losing money on these events. They're just not.
No, they're not. Like they're getting.
I pulled up the list of the Smash World Tour just to see how much we got left in the year. And let's take a look here at this ridiculously long list. But we got, let's see, let's scroll on this end. We're in September.
Yeah, so we already went through, there's an event in Brazil. There's an event. It happened this weekend in Korea, Chile. Yep. There we go back to Laurel, Maryland, because everyone loves going to Maryland. And then right after that, Tokyo. I shouldn't say right after that. That's November. This calendar is not properly.
Yeah, I was like, where November popped up there.
It comes from September to November and then back to September. Lost Tech City. Look, that's a regional. I get it. But yeah, that's a shit ton. It's like that right there is enough for the entire Smash circuit, everything combined, and that's just one. And then you have things like Let's Make Moves Miami, which is this hybrid event that's going to count for Panda points and World Tour points. There's another thing happening in Paris. Like, I'm not against these regional events. I think that's fine. And I actually think SWT does a good job of being like, these get this many points, these get this many points. So it really, I have to give it up to Gimmer and them. Like, they announced this, it gave players plenty of time to plan where they were going to go, and clearly Leo cares more about this because they're like, how long was it where the time between Panda and Nintendo announcing their tour to actually announcing dates? It was like 6 months or 8 months.
Yeah, it was November, December, January, February, March, April. But yeah, it was about 7.5 months. It was a while.
Whereas when Smash World Tour did their announcement, it was the whole thing. It was like they didn't have dates for everything, but they said, here's all the things that we're doing this year. And then they got the dates up pretty quickly. So just from like a player's perspective, I would much rather plan my year around what SWT was saying versus what Panda's saying. And then you look at how much you make from playing a Panda event versus this, it's double the prize pool. And obviously that's this combined thing, and that's what's like still kind of crappy. And this, no offense to SWT or VGBC or any of those folks, but like $250K for all of that.
Yeah,
that's a lot. It gets cut up into little pieces. I was looking over at Dota 2. You know, they have their battle pass that they use to raise the prize pool for the international. It's about to hit $10 million already.
Oh my god!
And we got over a month until that tournament. Like, there's regionals happening right now, but like the real international doesn't kick off till October. Their combined prize pool's already at 10 million.
Yeah, so I'm sure they're getting more support than Nintendo was giving to anyone. In that world.
But my point is, this is literally just money raised by the players by buying a battle pass.
Yeah, what I'm saying, is Nintendo going to do that?
No,
that's what I'm saying.
But you could create something. You could create some. If you're SWT or if you're BTS, you could create some sort of mechanic that like gives viewers some other experience, like anything. You know,
like some exclusive streams with the players or something like that.
Because look,
I could sign up for.
Rod, you watch and you help broadcast these things all the time. You guys are averaging what? 50,000 concurrent viewers on a Sunday?
I think so, somewhere in that ballpark.
You get $5 from each of them. Okay. That's $250K. I just doubled the prize pool for SWT. That's all I'm saying, is like the community could do something. Obviously, you're right, Denny. There's not ever going to be something that's built into Ultimate that incentivizes this. That's where Valve got it right. And that's what every other esport should literally steal the idea from Valve. It's sitting there.
Yeah, I mean, Capcom does that kind of thing. And they're going to do it again for Street Fighter 6, I'm sure.
That's what I'm saying. Capcom's on it now. Like, but I get it. The community is never going to, I'm sorry, Nintendo's never going to do this. But there may be a way for the community to create this. I think the closest we've seen to it is how Summit works.
I think so too. And I think the very nature of us having two circuits is almost a direct byproduct of like, okay, you know, we've allowed the grassrootsness to grow into something out of control. And up until this point, it's been something very bad, as we've seen in the last so many years. And the fact that we have two circuits could kind of be looked at as a good thing. I mean, yes, we have two circuits, like we finally needed this. Then we have people who stepped up to the plate. But when I look at, like, again, the template that fighting games have kind of laid, the community knows which events are the ones. Like, there's events that happen all year, but these events are boom, 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 the ones. But I think in Smash, this isn't to blame it on Nintendo, of course, but it's like, without Nintendo's involvement about which tournaments are the ones to go to, this circuit is the one that we should care about. We've allowed all these other TOs and all these other individuals to step up and basically pull from the same resources that Gimmer and all these other guys are, and they're hosting tournaments just as big in their own areas, which is taking away, or if it's not taken away, they're a part of the Smash World Tour. And I'm glad that we have that, but it's like, I wish that we just had one solid tournament circuit where it's like, hey, these are the events that you need to go to. Not saying don't go to these other ones, but if it's on this, then you know what it means. But the fact that we have two of those is, I mean, it's just the Smash community 101 right there. It's just two grassroots, and we've grown into something that we just can't cut. Like,
and it's like, it's balkanized. It's like there is there's a cliquey nature to this.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like certain events have certain casters that they fuck with. Certain events have, you know, certain production teams that they fuck with. So it's like I think it has become contentious. Like, it doesn't need to be, but I'm of the opinion that if you did one circuit with a $500,000 prize pool, it would be better than everything that we're seeing right now.
I agree.
And it would be better for the players, which has been my point the whole time. Like, Smash players, and I'm not saying they deserve anything, but they don't make, is Denny there?
Yeah, I see him.
Okay, I'll have to screenshot what I'm seeing. But it could just be my internet. Yeah, the Smash scene could do better. than it currently is doing for its players.
I think we can all agree on that.
Yeah, that's kind of at the core.
There has to be some changes made. I think that what you're saying, as far as like the opportunity for the community to be able to get more involved in how they raise money for the players, would be more viable if there was a more cut and dry scene, and not all of it spread across 30,000 events. Like if you would really kind of get to the core of things and set it up in a way that makes sense for people to know where their money is going, which also involves a level of trust as well with the organizers and everyone else involved. Then yeah, I think that would be both successful and would be less strenuous on the players if they had opportunity to make more money while going to less events, and you could build up the hype for those events even more instead of it being a situation
and then
where you're
stop the whole he picked this one over this one, and then there's like even more butthurt over it. Like it goes back to what I was saying. It's kind of like the PGA and the Live Tour, except in the case of the Live Tour, they're paying people like $100 million to just never play on the PGA again and go exclusively over to the Saudi Arabia Tour. Like that ain't happening over here in Smash.
No, it's definitely not. I mean, I even as myself, as somebody who is actively, despite how long I've been in the community, trying to get hired for things like. Even right now, like I'm trying to get hired. Well, I was, trying to get hired for the big house, and now I'm going to Puerto Rico instead for a different first attack. Then they're doing fighting games over in Puerto Rico, and I'm like, it dawns on me. I'm like, we do have two circuits. This one is on one circuit. This one's on the other, and I'm like, my relationships just might not be as good as they need to be, and this is really weird for me because I'm like. I've been in the community for so long, even at the start of the conversation in the community of having a circuit, and we have two. And like, I can't really get hired for one. I missed CEO. Like, I didn't get hired for that. And then I'm not getting hired for Big House either. Or at least I was. Like, there was an offer that came back around to me, but like 5 people at the top had to say they weren't going for me to finally, get the email. And I'm like, what is this? Like, I personally, as a commentator, don't like it. So I can only imagine what the players are going through right now. Like, this is like, I can't believe I have to like favor one and like worry about, I'm going to too many of these and won't get hired for that thing, or I'm not going to enough of those. It's like Tasty Steve and those guys don't have to fucking worry about that. They just Capcom Cup, they just know, hey, these are the events we need you for, boom. But over here it's like it's a circus. It's just not good.
And I have to bring up a dead game. Quake Champions.
Mm-hmm.
Treating their players better than you guys. Treating their casters better than you guys. Of having an event like once a quarter, you know what I mean? Like it becomes a little bit easier on the players
to follow.
Yeah,
like the audience in general. Like
as a fan, yeah, like all these things become easier. It also, Rod, going back to treating the players right, it gives them more time to be content creators. Which, like, look at Mango. Mango loses money when he attends a Melee tournament, and he doesn't.
He does.
And I think even when he wins, he loses money. So, like, yeah, like, Mango is doing this just because he's an ambassador for the game. But, like, these are young kids that are in Ultimate and in this new generation of Melee players. And, like, this is not right. That's all I'm saying. Like, we can't just... This needs to stop.
I mean, at this point...
Right. But I tell you... go ahead, Danny. I'm sorry.
I was just going to say, like, at this point, look, we are on the eve of a potential, golden age in fighting games. If there was ever a time for you to start considering switching over what you're doing as a content creator or anything else on that end for some of these events, it would be in the upcoming year.
Look at what Nakat's done. I think Nakat's a perfect example of that. He was, he had kind of, middle tier. He had kind of become middle tier Smash Ultimate Pro, mainly because of the mains he selects. They're not top tier characters. Well, he's a good player, and he obviously understands how to break down a meta. He is thriving over in the multiverses scene now. So Denny, to your point, I think you're right. There's gonna be opportunities for some of these players to just be like, you know what, I'm into Street Fighter now, or you know what, I'm gonna play Tekken. You know what, I'm gonna get into Project A. I think the only problem there is that platform fighters are so different. Like there are some players in the scene in Smash that can pick up other fighting games. Leffen went third at Evo in what was that, Guilty Gear? Yeah, so like there's obviously crossovers. I felt that way about Me Too King when he was in his prime. Yeah, that guy could pick up any video game. So I agree. There's definitely gonna be some crossovers there, especially these young guys, right? If you're 16 and you've already deconstructed the Smash meta, maybe you should pick up Street Fighter 6.
Well, I'm saying, like, even if it's not on the competitive end and just the content creator end, people will see you playing a new game and they're going, "What? You're playing Smash now? Like that? Or you're switching over to multiverses, et cetera, et cetera." Like that kind of content in itself, if you're actually entertaining, is going to do well. I mean, you don't have to. There's so many creators that are the people who may have been playing Street Fighter 4 6 years ago, who are still making a huge community, element happen just from being around the scene and trying different stuff. We get these other games like DF Duel and stuff to come out that have no precedence.
Because they're going to look. If we have a similar schedule for Smash in 2023, people are going to stop tuning in.
Yeah, they're going to get completely swallowed out.
Project A is going to show up. Capcom Pro Tour is going to be there. Tekken 7 is still pulling numbers, but like 8, forget it. 8's going to be massive. So like
Red Bull's going to eat all that up. Like as soon as any available dates are going to be swallowed up by those games.
So the competition is coming, and the competition when it comes to platform fighters is already here. Multiverses is here, and it made some
a lot of fun.
It made some noise at Evo. You know what I mean? Like people aren't going to forget that. That was a very fun tournament to watch. Like it just was. It wasn't the highest quality production or anything, but it was fun.
Multiverses has that tie-in with. I mean, as long as they're attached to WWE, they can show up at any event. Like, you could have and be news. It's like, oh, we got some new characters coming out. Oh, it's Comic-Con? Sure, we got a tournament.
Boom.
That's what I'm saying. Like there is a live event circuit that I think will probably not include Smash next year. And then you're going to see this balkanized schedule show up again. And once again, I'm just going to go like, okay, where's Leo playing? I'll tune into that one.
Yeah.
And then was it really that fun to watch Leo beat the crap out of everyone in Cuba? Not really.
No, not really. It wasn't. It was nice to see that there is Smash over in Cuba. I think absolutely. I think Smashers don't sometimes understand the importance, which is, I know I talked about the Bobby Wasabi and Apostle back and forth that I sent. That was a whole issue of both circuits, both companies not really paying as much attention to, the European scene. And then, of course, both sides kind of answering back like, hey, we have been. I think the Smash World Tour, though, obviously just due to the nature of their circuit, they're highlighting other areas of the world. Now, to the level that they're highlighting them, of course, is up for speculation. But I was like, we went to Cuba. I mean, I knew Smash was everywhere. And I know, how Tekken's everywhere. We love Arslan Ash here at Shacknews. But I'm just like, Cuba? I had no idea, but let's see what it's like. And they're pretty good.
Oh, no. And you're going to get someone that pops off there. And I think MK Leo being a Spanish-speaking figurehead in the scene going there, huge for the culture. I love all that. But just from a pure gameplay perspective, like I said, I watched this because I want to watch excellent gameplay. And that wasn't excellent gameplay. He was playing with Rob the whole time. And I think he may have not played with Rob once that whole tournament. But it was just, it's weird. So I never feel that way when I tune in to watch Tekken. If I know it's a Tekken major, I'm going to get some good ass Tekken. If I'm tuning in for a Street Fighter or a Capcom Cup or anything Guilty Gear related, it's usually high level play. And I think that's the part of this that people aren't really paying attention to because you're all too deep in the scene. You're in the production side of things, or you're casting it. But you as a caster have to see this.
I do.
The level of competition goes down, and then the concurrent views go down, and then other stuff. And I just think there is going to be Smash fatigue in 2023 if they do this again.
There is. There needs to be, and I hate to say this, and I know I've talked about this once, and I'll say it again. Now, I mean, I know Nintendo pretty well, and however well I know them, you probably know them a billion times better. I think, we always say, man, we want Nintendo to come through. We want them to get involved, but I don't think people understand what it looks like if they get involved. It's going to be the same casters every week. It's going to be the same production, but at the same time, though, it's going to build a formulated narrative where people know these are the ones you need to go to. Leia was going to these said things because this is what's on the line. Genesis, the Big House, Frostbite, Let's Make Moves. Like, these tournaments are on it. These are the ones you need to watch. But the nature of the Smash community has been, we've been able to run wild and free for so many years, and everybody has a major now. So it's like, what do we go to? Now it's not everybody has a major. Everybody has a circuit. There's 2 circuits, 3 stream boards.
Well,
it's
that's where you run into problems.
It's too much.
You're elevating too much shit
once. We gotta.
You have to realize where you're at in this game's cycle.
Mm-hmm.
This is year 4.
Yeah.
For Ultimate. Nintendo will not spend $1 on this game because they already made their money. They're spending money on Splatoon. And why are they spending money on Kart? Because they're still selling DLC for that. And it's the best-selling game on their platform. So, like, the time for Nintendo to invest in the Smash scene was 2018. And they could have done what we were talking about. If they implemented some kind of Dota 2-like thing in it, where every season you could give Nintendo money and that increases the prize pool, you know, maybe Nintendo pockets like 20 cents on the dollar or something, then they'll care.
Yeah.
Then they will care. But at the core, and what I don't understand is that, because I've talked to people at Nintendo about this. I have. I don't want to name my source, but I've talked to people at Nintendo about this.
Yeah.
It's Japan. Nintendo of Japan does not care about esports at all. Yeah. They don't understand it. They don't care. But what I don't get, why does Capcom understand it? Same culture. Why does Capcom understand what Nintendo doesn't? Like, that's what I don't get. Because Capcom Pro Tour is the closest thing to what we're talking about.
Yeah, well, I think it's a bit different for Capcom because they don't have as much as a lean into the kid-friendly, like, playable for everyone type of vibe that, you know, Nintendo does in that range.
But, like, playing video games for money in Japan is, like, a no-go. You cannot make any money at a competitive video game tournament in Japan. There's, like, laws against it. It borders on their gambling laws, I guess. Mm-hmm. So there is, like, an actual structural reason for why regionals in Japan don't have prize pools. They're usually like, hey, you want a controller, or here's a gift certificate or something. You know what I mean? Like, so
there's definitely differences.
Yeah, so I think that even Evo Japan has differences. But yeah, I don't understand how one company can create a perfect solution, and Nintendo, it just can't look over and copy their homework. Like, just one time, I would like them to realize, like, someone needs to make a case that it's not about the scene. It's not about the players. That we will make you more money. And
I don't
then
think that's
and only
gonna happen
then,
until, like, something like Multiverses takes off to the level where they're bringing in so much cash.
But at that point, Nintendo's already made. They already made their money on this system. You know, like, they already made their billions on Smash.
You know, is it even a thing of money though with a company like Nintendo? When I think of Nintendo, when I think of, you know, intellectual properties and what, you know, the name of the company and the characters and everything mean to whatever culture they're giving themselves to, I think of, like, Nintendo and Disney. And there comes a point where, like, they can just shill out anything and it makes money. So is it even a matter of money at this point that they're looking for, or is it has to be? Is it?
It
like
always is, man.
Is it a lack of innovativeness? Because, like, they know they sold us cardboard. Like, they know this would make money. Like, there has to be some reason why they're not doing it. You know what I mean? Like,
they're not doing it because they don't want to. They're not doing it because they
don't want to invest in that kind of route.
Yeah. And honestly, the Smash scene has done themselves no favors in the last 4 years.
Yes, that too.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying too. I mean, of course, Smash doesn't deserve anything, but I'm just thinking, like, they've always been, you know, they've always done their own thing. They've always prided themselves on, we're innovative. Like, we won the console war versus some of these other IPs. Our IPs are cool. We're in the movies now. We're having our own theme park. Like, literally, the only other companies, IPs that rival us in terms of innovativeness and whatever is probably Disney at this point. So, like,
but you want to talk about bloodthirsty, money-hungry executives? Disney is that, man.
Oh, I believe
it. Yeah, of course. Yeah, their brands are fuzzy and cute, and there's all sorts of great IP there. But man, you see what they're doing to Star Wars? Like, they're squeezing every last drop they can out of that.
But if Disney was in Japan, it would be would be a bit different than what we're getting here in America, for sure. I mean, in comparison.
The reason I think I'm belaboring this point is that I really enjoyed the Smash, or sorry, not the Smash, the Splatoon 3 tournament.
Yeah.
And I'm worried because I see no plan for Splatoon 3 esports at all.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be up to the community, and I don't think it can exist on its own, right? Like, it's not going to...
I mean,
people aren't going to travel. They're not going to travel to Maryland to play a Splatoon tournament.
Not as of right now, no.
No. But like, it's on the Smash community and the grassroots nature to actually carry Splatoon 3, I think. Because Splatoon 3 is set up to be an esport. And that's what's weird, is that they finally set up a game that isn't Smash to be an esport. And then they're going to do that same Nintendo thing by not supporting it. And it's just, as a fan, it's going to suck. Because I like Splatoon 3 a lot. Like, I haven't played it yet, but just from watching it, I'm in. And, like, I'm not going to be a pro or anything, but yeah, like, I would like to see it actually get a chance to be a success in the esports scene. And it already seems like all those problems are not being addressed, you know? But to your point, Rod, like, you're right. They are going to have the same people at every tournament if it does become that. So maybe because Splatoon 3 is still going to be around at the time of PAX East, we'll see another invitational there. If E3 happens, maybe another one there. I can't imagine Nintendo went through all the effort of putting a LAN mode in Splatoon 3 with 2 spectators to not push it at all as an esport.
I mean, the way they were trying to push that, like that Nintendo Sports Online or whatever. Like, I feel like they're...
Yeah, Versus. Nintendo Versus was tweeting all weekend. I was like, oh man, this Twitter account still exists.
Yeah, like, hey, Vasef, that's Vasef behind that account, I'm pretty sure.
No, it was just like, we hadn't seen them in a little bit, you know what I mean, Rod? Like, they tweet about Panda occasionally, but...
there's definitely potential.
And that's another thing, too. I've noticed that Nintendo Versus, as a company, they don't tweet about some of the VG events. And this is before the circuit, too. I brought that up. I was like, I noticed that Smash Ultimate's coming out, and they're on their press roll. It's this 2017-18. I mean, I went to a few events. I know you guys went to pretty much all the E3s and PAXs, and Nintendo's out here, which means that they're promoting something. And I'm like, they're at Combo Breaker, but they're not at Pound. They're at CEO, but they're not at Glitch. Like, none of the VG events got any press on Nintendo Versus, which was very telling for me, because now I'm like, oh, there's going to be a split happening soon. I don't know what's to come, but that's very blatantly obvious. Like, and again, there's probably background stuff I don't know about, but then boom, here we go. 2 circuits. One has their own thing, the other one has its own thing. Like, I get it now. This is why they wanted to do their own thing, and maybe there was a split or something, but they're not supporting each other, which is fine. But at the end of the day, the only people that get hurt are us, wonderful people here in the middle.
You know what? Just going back to Splatoon, what I think is, it's fun to watch. Like, I enjoy watching Splatoon more than Overwatch. I enjoy watching it more than Valorant. I enjoy watching it more than most shooters. I'd say CSGO is probably still better to watch. Halo's okay. But, like, the same reason why I think Rocket League is such a great esport is why Splatoon is. You turn on Splatoon, and they're playing Turf War, and it's very simple. They're all shooting paint on the ground. And whoever puts the more paint on the ground wins. You know what I mean? Like, you get that almost instantly. And the choke points, the way that those are set up, I think everything about it's very easy to understand. And that's what you need for something to go from smaller niche fandom to this larger appealing thing. So it's just, I'm worried because I see Nintendo doing the exact same thing they've done in Smash with Splatoon 3. And, like, I don't know if you remember that first Nintendo trailer from back in, the first Nintendo Switch trailer. It was October 2016, I think.
Okay. I think so.
They showed an arena. Right?
Oh, yes.
And what were they playing in that arena?
That's right.
Splatoon 2.
That's right.
And it's like, that never came to fruition. Because, like, Splatoon 2 wasn't esports ready, and, like, they never really pushed it like that. But now here we are. You have a perfect proof of concept of what Splatoon could look like as an esport, and everything that they're doing, it just makes me think that we're going to be talking about Nintendo not supporting this in 2 years. You know? So, like, that's what sucks here. There is so much potential here.
Yeah.
I'm a fan of third-person shooters. Like, Gears is kind of dead. Like, Gears as an esport, do you guys ever watch that? No.
No.
Not anymore, no.
But, you know, Gears 2, Gears 3, it was popping back then. Like, there's room in this world of esports for a third-person shooter, I think. And this is a perfect one for it. They just need, like, a couple more things. And all they need to do is just steal that freaking Dota 2 mechanic. Because Nintendo consumers spend more money than PC players, than most other platforms. So you're already in it, you know? You're already in it. You're like, well, I might as well buy the DLC. I already have 400 hours in the Animal Crossing. I might as well buy the DLC.
You know? I can drop a couple coins for, like, you know, buy an amiibo and $2 go towards this, whatever. Sure.
Yeah. So, like, that's the part that they need to just... Because going back to your original point, Rod, about is it money or is it brand? I think there's a huge shift in the culture at Nintendo. They make mobile games now. They're making movies now. They're licensing out Mario IP to Ubisoft. Like, these are huge, drastic changes from how they used to be. So I do think they may be more open to it. And I do think that Furukawa, who's the president over there, he's probably more open to experimenting with their IP than Iwata was, or Kimishima, you know, the interim CEO was, or the Yamauchi family, like who don't own any Nintendo anymore. So, like, yeah, I think it's a different culture. So I think the door is open. They need to walk through it.
I do think that there's an element there too, though. Of, I mean, yes, Nintendo would be great if they were supporting the game in that way. But if Spectator and everything else actually works, like, I feel like there is still potential for people to move in and maybe make a scene happen. Because there's a ton of content creators who are, like, so into this game and play Splatoon religiously at this point. And
I mean, like Lud. If Lud does the same thing he just did with the Smash Invitational with Splatoon, you could have a very viable scene be built off
This is the kind of game that Twitch themselves would get involved in, between like Twitch rivals and everything else that they do. That I could see them putting on a full-on event with Nintendo's permission and having the money behind to back it and doing really well. Because when you hit something like Splatoon, you know, you have elements of, yes, there's, you know, your content creators and such, but kids can still play. All kinds of people from different ages can enter. And once you get in that kind of realm of things, then there's more of, like, people both watching, you know, at different ages, and also more eyes on content creators when the events are over. Yeah, so the scene itself and the community grows rapidly.
Well, I also think this would be better on television than a Smash tournament.
I think Splatoon would work way better on TV than Smash would. There's no doubt about that. Smash, as we play it competitively, is a stripped down version of what would work better on TV with the items and the chaos and the kids. But, you know, just two characters, you know, killing each other on screen, they probably wouldn't. Yeah. I mean, there's a reason why we only run replays of the Invitational from E3 all those years ago and not new ones, because we were trying to sell a new game, but now we're not doing that anymore. But before we get too wrapped up in this, we do, you know, we come up on the halfway mark. We got a little bit more of the show to talk about. We want to jump actually into the fighting games community. Denny, I brought this to you. There were hitbox controller debates and discourse these last so many days. Now, I am very familiar with the hitbox controller, of course, coming from Smash. A lot of Melee players who have ruined their hands to all oblivion are now running this controller, but the fighting game community is just not about it. What's going on with that, bro?
Yeah, there's been you know, a lot more chatter, and this isn't the first time that, you know, there's been some chatter and communication and such about hitbox and what's available to be done with hitbox and stuff like that. But it seems to be kind of making rear its ugly hit again more recently with some of the conversation that's been happening. Some have been making fun of it, obviously. There's been some memes and such with some of the breakdown of, you know, folks complaining about what those things mean. And then some of the conversations for, how TOs will handle them, there's elements there that are both going to become, I think, something that is still talked about later on. But we'll have to see where it goes. I'm going to try and pull up some of the things that we had showing up on the timeline more recently. But there's always been, a mixture of debates between certain situations like, pad, arcade stick, hitbox, and what can be done with each individually depending on what game you're playing. Hitbox allows you to, chain different buttons to do multiple directions at the same time that wouldn't be humanly possible just using your hand and a joystick. And so some people were saying, okay, does this give me an advantage in game in a way that, could become something more? Obviously, it's not easy to do to a certain extent. So that in itself becomes a bigger thing. But it raises a bigger argument between what some people call the FGC kind of arms race, where there is a level of skill and talent required to hit off some of these things. Like in Marvel, for example, if you wanted to be able to play that game, you had to be able to, hit certain button combinations to be able to get your quick dash going across screen without any issues. But that wasn't really as available to do without input error on controller. So pretty much people would start from day one using an arcade stick and learning how to use that regularly just to be able to get to the base level of handling the speed of the game and moving in the game to that level. Now, of course, things balanced out over time, so people were able to, either get a gamepad or something else they could use to kind of balance that out. But there's still an argument to be had there that there is a period of time where people adjust to these kind of things, and sometimes they never go back. Where
and feel free to correct me if I'm wrong, but it almost feels like it's a battle of like accessibility, because obviously not everybody can hold a regular controller. I mean, we see that most notably in the FGC. Like there's players with all sorts of differences, in their physical being or whatever, and they're still able to figure out ways to play. So of course, I mean, we want the fighting community to be open to everybody, but then there's also the whole like, well, some of these buttons and stuff, what the FGC prides itself on is precision, being able to, react as quickly as possible, inputs. And some of these controllers are kind of making it easier. I mean, bro, I've used the hitbox a couple of times. Ain't nothing easy about that son of a bitch. But this is also coming from a game like Melee, where the button inputs are a little bit different. I'd imagine in like a Street Fighter, like this might be something to look a little bit closer into, right?
Well, I mean, because the hitbox is the way reason people use them is that it's easier on the hands for some people that maybe, can't hold an arcade stick, joystick, or those kind of things as easily. Or you have, your multiple buttons and setups. But as you can see, like with a hitbox, you had the opportunity to have each of those buttons attached to, a different finger or something like that. That might work a little bit easier, especially when you're playing a game for so long that the constant repetition might have a, people have carpal tunnel and other issues that like a hitbox will alleviate. But when it's being used in a way that may lead to there being other issues, and people have been bringing up more so the idea of like being able to hit things a certain amount of frames quickly in a way that someone couldn't humanly possibly do on a regular controller, or saying that you're getting a back and forward motion at the same time. And so you're cutting out because of the input delay that's happening pretty much instantaneously. So you cut down charge time, for, charge characters or for those kind of things, where that kind of limitation ends up being a more long-term problem when people level up enough with a certain game or something like that using a hitbox that it becomes an unfair advantage. It's almost
like turbo mode in a shooter or something, right? Like, the turbo button.
Yeah, I mean, like you would have to, it wouldn't be like the same as like, you hit one button and you're getting the advantage. But obviously, if you train yourself long enough, to do these kind of things consistently, eventually that becomes a new level of what's possible. And then people will try and do the same to keep up. And then it comes down to, are we going to set up some kind of scenario where hitbox themselves have to limit what's possible on the actual box as far as like frame input or artificial delay to keep that from becoming an issue, or is it a situation where we're going to have to bring it down to the actual tournament organizers in which case they have to either regulate what can be used, which, I mean, obviously there's been controllers that have been banned before or can't be used at certain events. But that's where the competitive scene and those kind of things kind of lean more into.
We see this though in like Smash too, where like people will get certain buttons and stuff changed on their controllers to avoid like snap back really quick, or like, you know, button like the spring on the GameCube controller and the L and R buttons, they get those changed to clickers instead of the springs and little things like that. But I mean, this here, from the way the community's kind of framing, is that this allows you to move quicker. I mean, it would just much less delay and much higher efficiency than another controller. So what happens if it's a person like, I'll just use myself for an example, whose fingers are already like kind of whatever, and like I can't hold a regular controller, I have to use the hitbox. Like, am I just kind of assed out? Like, is it just up to the TO?
So
like
here's where things are going right now, and there's been some talk. Like, I'm gonna bring up another comment here from High Fight, but
those are some harsh words. What did he say? He called it. It's not innovative. It's
yeah, like there's
just cheap and sad.
Yeah, there's some extreme elements of things being said there. But something that High Fight brought up was that if you can't ban hitbox because of a pad, and you can't ever ban pad because it's the default as a controller, then we should ban arcade stick and force everyone to either play on pad or hitbox instead. Now, this obviously got like a mixed reaction from people who are obviously using arcade stick and everything else in between. But it brought up some interesting parts of the conversation where people were saying that, well, what if we force the developers to take hitbox and these elements into consideration more instead of putting it onto the tournament organizer side? They should keep these kind of things in mind because they do for arcade stick when it comes to both delay time and how these kind of inputs work. Arcade stick is kept in mind because people are playing on them regularly, both on the design team and other places. So people are saying that maybe the solution is going to be that we balance out things and take some kind of testing into effect for a hitbox, particularly for these games, instead of it being a scenario where they're overlooked and so therefore they get an advantage because the team themselves haven't included a kind of element into their balancing at all. And I think that's probably the more fair part, fair approach to take this, because I'm not going to really condone taking away something that might be better for accessibility for people to be able to use, just because some folks are using it in a way that it wasn't intended to be used, or that developers didn't intend for it to be used, or in those kind of elements when they were building their game. So I think as of right now, hitbox I think has a place in the scene, but there definitely has to be some kind of balancing happening either on the design side or on hitbox's end to address things that might become a potential problem down the line. Because if we have something like Street Fighter 6 drop and there's any kind of frame advantage based off of the inputs on a hitbox, that becomes a situation that would escalate quickly, especially depending on which characters you have out there. If someone could get off a DP or a shuriken or something like that a little bit faster in input than someone could defend against, that becomes a major issue in a place where what happened in the scene with games like Marvel, it just became, okay, well, I'm gonna just get the stick. I'll invest the extra money and get this arcade stick going so I can hit these 4 buttons at once and map it to one button and make it happen in the way that I can hit these lightning loops in the corner with this stick and have the timing down to the point where you're hearing the sound effect of the buttons going off each time, because they've trained themselves on that button and put so much now that it's literally just enough to make a beat out of. Like, those kind of scenarios is where the arms race talk comes back into approach again then, because then it turns into, well, if I can train myself at this level on this particular controller, it is going to be the new standard. People don't want that to happen.
Culture.
Because once that starts happening, then it starts spinning into, it gets out of control into, okay, how can we level up based off of what we're able to do in game with these inputs? It should never be a situation where like you're getting that kind of conversation happening based off of the controller you're using. It should come down to the actual game mechanics themselves and how that balances out, not the controllers you're using and whether they're going to give you an advantage enough that you have to go out there and invest in learning on said controller to make it work.
Let me ask you this. I mean, obviously the hitbox has been around for some time, and both Smash and the traditional FGC. So I'd imagine once every so many Haley's comments, this thing this conversation comes up because somebody posts a clip of them being able to do something with this controller that, you know, that person who's using a traditional stick or, you know, PlayStation controller can't do. I mean, how often do you guys have these discussions? Because I'll be honest, I've seen some pretty crazy controllers. At DreamHack Austin or Atlanta one year, I seen a guy using like the Rock Band keyboard piano to play Dragon Ball Fighters. So I mean, I've seen some crazy stuff, but I mean,
you don't have a competitive advantage using it.
Yeah, I mean, like it's just that's more of something that you're doing and you're showing off and stuff like that.
You know, I've seen a lot of players, you know, in my time in the fighting games. I know you go to more fighting game tournaments than I do probably, and it's like, when I look at the top 8, how many of them are actually using hitboxes? I mean, or is it a matter of not what they're doing now, but the potential of what could be done if we allow more of this hitbox stuff in? Like, now we might see these top guys using them, and now it shifts the meta to, you can't even use a PlayStation controller anymore. You have to use this if you want to compete in this current state.
Well, I mean, the thing that people agree on is that as far as the core of the fighting games go, you're never going to be able to ban regular controllers or pads from being used for fighting games as the default. So as long as that exists, the things that exist as far as issues go with using a regular controller are going to be something that either the team themselves have to balance out for, or are going to be part of things moving forward regardless. There's no way around that portion. The thing is that when people start using hitboxes, unless they're being either tested beforehand or there's scenarios where the hitbox themselves has like a tournament mode or something that allows you to turn off certain features for their equipment, you could easily set macros for multiple buttons to do things that they normally wouldn't be able to do. And then you could have them set off in a way that you could tap these buttons and they're doing more with one finger that you could do with 4, while you still have the rest of your hand available to use those options. And so that ends up creating scenarios where, even on the defensive end, when people used to play stuff like Dragon Ball Z or Dragon Ball Fighters, you would have scenarios where you would be able to block certain attacks and stuff like that by hitting like the same 2 or 3 buttons before hitting a dash in a way that would become an advantage because you could push block and then go in, you know, for another attack or whatever. But if your reaction time was fast enough, you know, to pull that off, it gives you the advantage now because you can punish your opponent in a way that someone on a regular controller wouldn't have been able to do. Now,
so did we see any of this at East Coast Throwdown? I know that's kind of like our next topic that we're dipping into a little bit, but I know East Coast Throwdown is probably the first major event since this conversation has popped back up again, and I don't remember seeing any of the top 8 players using this. Did you?
I don't remember seeing anyone in most of the top 8 using hitboxes. I mean, hitbox they do well enough to make a solid scene for themselves, because at the end of the day, they were something that came out of necessity for people that may not be able to use a regular pad in the same way. Or you got folks like, you know, Broly Legs, for example, who might be rolling through and playing this Chun-Li and such with a different setup. And, you know, my boy J-Rock, you know, plays with his feet, you know? Mm-hmm. Those kind of things where they use a stick or a hitbox, those kind of pads.
The FGC, though, it tends to not ban hardware, right?
Yeah, I mean, like general hardware. Usually the main thing is the stuff like the macros and micros, or like, you know, scenarios where, like, say your controller has more buttons than, you know, is necessary for, like, you're beyond like the right trigger or left trigger. You just got random buttons on your controller or whatever, or your pad that don't actually need to be there, because it's harder to regulate what that's actually doing during a match if you got it out there. So yeah, I mean, every once in a while you might see something pop up, you know, me volunteering at different events like Combat Breaker. I've seen some folks kind of try and pull off having, you know, different controllers or sticks. Because keep in mind that people get their sticks modded, but they can also get buttons added. They can get other stuff, you know, added to their regular arcade sticks, whether at the mod shop, you know, on site. And they you get things wired through the same way you can have, like, I used to have one arcade stick that could play both, you know, PS3, PS4, Xbox One, you know, everything all on one stick, because I had to, you know, cross mod it to be able to, you know, use and cross platform. But in some scenarios that might not be allowed for certain situations. So it all comes down to like how it's used on the tournament end. But as of right now, I think it's going to become more of an issue if there's something that ends up being exposed in game for one of the games that's coming out that's going to be somewhat major. If Capcom gets ahead of things and they check things on the hitbox end to make sure that there's not some kind of, you know, exploit that could be taken advantage of beforehand, this might not grow into a bigger issue. But as of right now, it's more of just kind of like a cross warning of what kind of thing could happen if the right game comes along that gives you enough advantage with using a hitbox consistently that it becomes a major problem. Yes, there's elements that they've shown, like in Street Fighter V and stuff like that, and some of the other, video and content, but that's on the way out. So, moving forward, it's going to come down to how prepared and how safe these games are for using that kind of equipment without it becoming a problem. Because best believe, once you're doing these kind of things on YouTube or on stream where there's actual footage and people are able to look back at it again, like, it will blow up overnight if it ends up being a situation where someone using a hitbox has enough advantage to take out someone that people like at a tournament or anything like that happens in real time. You will see major flags waving. If you're Justin Wongs or someone else gets knocked out because of some kind of exploit being done in game in one of these early Street Fighter 6 tournaments or invitationals or something like that. Now, there would obviously have to be a lot of things that would have to happen for that to line up that way. You'd have to have someone competitively enough, both know enough about a new game, take advantage of something like that in hitbox, and also, just being good with hitbox in general. So it's not something I don't see happening right away or anything like that. But as games evolve and develop, if you start hitting buttons and suddenly things are happening in ways that you didn't think that was possible before, and no one's doing anything about it, there's going to be some players that might try to take advantage of that.
I think so too. Let's talk about some of these players who did well here at East Coast Throwdown 2022. Let's talk about them. We got, I linked, some of them were popular titles. Of course, the first one I want to talk about is Street Fighter V. I know we talked about these last many episodes, but the game's on its way out. And unlike some of the other games out there, the Street Fighter V community, somebody wants to be, the champion of the game before 6 comes out, which makes sense. So we got Idom, who won Street Fighter V, which I'd like to say I'm surprised, but after winning, I believe it was the Subway Throwdown, he was representing, was it Queens or Brooklyn, one of the two boroughs?
Yeah.
I mean, him and his team just made that look extra free. He's been on the tear as of late. I believe he had a really good combo breaker, so this
he had a pretty sick Evo losers bracket run too.
Yeah. Yes. He's been putting in work in a way that makes sense for, the period of the game that we're in, for sure. So yeah, I'm not surprised that he was putting in work the way he was at this event. Obviously, got that East Coast advantage too going on. A lot of folks train together. Something that I don't know how things are for the Smash scene as far as that goes, but when it comes to the FGC side, like there's all kind of leveling up happening at any event before and after and during. The amount of time being spent on the sticks with people that you may not have the opportunity to play, offline, in a lot of scenarios throughout the year. You're gonna always see it, like especially in games like Street Fighter, Guilty Gear, especially. When you get more of these, international players coming through, you'll see them leveling up. 12, 1 in the morning or whatever it is, or scenarios where Combat Breaker that had 24 hours. Like I would wake up and see these folks still in the lobby, making it happen. And you're getting a lot more of that kind of camaraderie and the team elements of some folks on the East Coast kind of just leveling up each other in that scene. And obviously you have your sponsored folks who are going to be constantly practicing together and stuff like that too. But I'm seeing more of that rub off, it feels like, between Edom, Punk showed up to this one, I believe. Shine, a few other folks as well. Definitely had some solid showings. But
yeah, it looks like Shine, Magnegro. How does James Chen and some of those commentators get around saying his tag? They just say Mag or whatever. That's very strange. Well, I guess Yikes would just do all that for him.
Yikes might, yeah, but yeah, Magnegro's. I can't remember who he's playing in this game. I know he used to play.
It's like he was playing
Birdie. I think.
Burden.
Yeah.
Yeah. Prophet, Cody Mayer, Hoji, Metro, and Silver Rupee were the top 8 there, but it was Idom who was able to close it out with Poison, Laura, Angie. Ran 3 different characters in Grams, or at least
he got some counter picks that he'd like to toss in. But he's when it's time, he's putting in on that lore. Like, lore has definitely come a long way from the earlier days of Street Fighter, where like she had some dangerous stuff, but there's some people that could stop her. And now it seems like once she gets rolling, it's really dangerous and scary to deal with. And that's kind of like how the character was built and fleshed out, but it's definitely turned into more of that in the last couple of months, I feel like. But there's also not as many lores out there that are playing at a high level like Edom is. I think there was another lore in either top 8 or at least in like top like 16 that was doing pretty well too.
We're like approaching the end of Street Fighter V, right? This is...
Yeah, I mean, you'd have like the rest of whatever their Pro Tour is going to be, and they start lining up for Capcom Cup and such, and then there's Street Fighter 6 reveals. I mean, we don't have any release date yet, but I would think that Street Fighter 6 would be coming towards the earlier part of the year, as we're moving into it.
I think so too, but I like what Street Fighter V is doing again as a community, and I can't stress it enough. And I wish other communities did it too. Like, I know Asif and I have been very vocal about like, you know, NetherRealm and Mortal Kombat / Injustice, and how they just kind of, the community just kind of falls out of love with the game. The developers stop really pushing out content and stuff for it after DLC wraps. But like Street Fighter, this is how you this is how you really get involved in your community. Like, hey, we know a new one's on the way. We're still focused on this one right now. And if anything, we're focused on it times 12. Like, I want to be that final champion when this book is closed and the new game comes out. And I love that Edom is doing this. I mean,
it's a nice mixture, but there's also there's a nice level of like care being taken by Capcom, where like they're preparing for the next game. They're lining up things and opportunities for content creators. They're doing these different events where you get the opportunity to play live. They had a special, they had a couple of special hours with Javiers and Yipes and a few other people got their hands on the game for a few hours a week or two ago, where they were just hands-on and just breaking down things in real time on stream and such. Like, more of that happening before the game's release is going to pay off in the long run for those who are paying attention. If you're serious about getting into the game, any of that news and elements of playtime, it's going to go a long way for a game where it looks like it's got twice as many mechanics as Street Fighter V does at this point. They've brought back parries, for example, and it's not just tied to one character or to a focus attack or something. Different elements of how you use your meter, not being able to cross up people in the corner. Different things that are part of the game. They're just distinctly going to make it something different, which is what people want. Whereas 5, there might be more fondness for 5 after we wrap up things with the game than while it's in its element currently. But even in this scenario, that's what I'm talking about. I'm gonna put it on screen here in a second. But like with Capcom, like you're gonna see this every single time before a match goes live. They'll say supported by, and you get these sales, premium pass, character pass, special stages, and that money goes towards supporting Capcom Cup and that prize pool. You're getting those kind of things before your main events, your top, your winners finals and such, and it's integrated directly into the production. More of that kind of stuff happening is what we need, across the board. And there's no reason why none of them's going to do the same thing. With the stuff that they do, and their approach.
NetherRealm has no real reason to be acting the way that they do, and it's actually really weird that, I know, again, not to like beat a dead horse, but they get the treatment that they get in EVO, despite like what the hell has Mortal Kombat 11 done in the last year and some change, outside of the circuit. And they got Mr. Aquaman, who's producing pretty good content. I love his Combat Coliseums and everything he's doing, but like outside of that, in person stuff, it's like they had a really great showing at Combo Breaker their first year. Remember, they did the big crew battle, Katana Prime and stuff was there, and then of course at Boone, everybody was there. Then it just slowly started to like disappear, and I'm like, how can you exist in the same medium where Street Fighter's going strong to the very end? Maybe, arguably, depending on who you ask, maybe too far, but like how?
I mean, the interesting thing is that, ironically, Mortal Kombat 11 was so influenced by Street Fighter that it turned off some players. and they moved into it being, you know, more of a Capcom kind of pro style game and more of a slow paced title when it comes to how you approach the actual like offense in Mortal Kombat 11. It was heavily influenced by Street Fighter 5. It was like obvious that the levels of like how they were changing the mechanics, you know, how you use meter and everything else in that game. It's a major change. You look at like between MKX and MK11, just how drastic the two of those are. The kind of like filthy stuff you get away with in MKX that would like both be extremely hype, but it's like the type of characters that were also viable. Like you see people like come in with a Jason that was just unstoppable for like most of top 32, and then suddenly you got this Jason Voorhees in like top 8 who's going crazy, you know, with the right kind of style. Where like a lot of that's not happening in MK11. There's not as much of the viability being the same level. Where like, you know, Alien and Predator were just ridiculous in MKX and pulling off all kind of crazy side stuff with projectiles, wall bounces, and you're like, none of that's happening the same level in MK11. And while I agree with like the cinematic and like the story side of them, you know, putting the production value there, they always do. I think that the reason why you see it still have the kind of viability it is, well, I mean, Comic Breaker's in Chicago, so that was a given with NetherRealm being there. But, you know, in general, if they come out with something else, which the timelines are lining up for that to happen, since we had MKX announced at the Game Awards, we had MK11 announced at the Game Awards, and then both games came out in April of next year. I could see something like that happening again this time around, and if it did, it may not be the only game they're working on. We might get, you know, another MK, we might get another Injustice, it might be some kind of team up between the two. I personally wouldn't mind there to be some horror crossover happening here. Give me a full-on slasher fighter, you know? I want some Freddy versus Jason, drop in some Pinhead and such, you know, etc. But they've been extra quiet, but they also been constantly hiring as well. I see all kinds of, you know, programming and everything else being put on a list on my timeline constantly over there. And even on the community management side, you haven't heard a whisper about anything on that end, despite them still doing PlayStation tournaments and stuff like that. There's been none of that kind of communication that you usually see throughout a game release. So I feel like whatever they're working on has to be pretty major, but it's just a sad portion for the scene that you have to basically go an entire year without any kind of communication or, you know, regular viability. But I didn't see like, you know, Ed Boon coming through like he usually does and such, a combo breaker and stuff like that, the same way that like my man's was staying afterwards, you know, after top 8 was over, you know, when MK11 first dropped, and just chatting with players and stuff like that. Like we're not getting that same element happening here. And obviously there's a bit of, you know, some drop off because of the pandemic and such, but it's just like night and day compared to release and when there's content still flowing out compared to, you know, when that stopped happening. So yeah, disappointing. I mean, but you're still look at games like Tekken 7 are doing the complete opposite, you know, while still being highly viable and entertaining on that end. And I see that Anakin won that one too, so he's still making moves as well on that front.
Jack 7, baby. That's my man's. Yeah. Big shout out to, you know, of course, Anakin and obviously all the top 8 competitors here. I know we're kind of cutting it close here on time, so I just want to give a quick rundown at some of the placements. So Street Fighter, we just talked a bit about. Tekken 7, of course, we had Anakin with Jack 7, Bloodhawk running Heihachi Mishima, and Craig Marduk, John Hammer with Marduk, and Reggie Gygas. Still Electric with the Zafina gameplay. God damn, I hate fighting her. Massacre with Xiao Yu and Harang. One of my, you know, characters there. You know, I think Harang is absolutely broken. Ty, of course, running Marduk and Brian, the bad exalted Lei Wu Long, and Hot Like Fire coming through with the Josie gameplay. Yes, she still exists in this current meta. Yeah, I'm very excited, you know, that Tekken 7, of course, like you said, is still being ran with such efficiency and that there are people still watching it. Even though the announcement of 8 was here, there has only enticed the community to play better and play harder. It has not stopped them from,
I mean, when you already got hype, you know, and you bring in something new, you're just going to get more hype. I mean, that's just the level of what things go. I mean, the thing I like about East Coast Throwdown is that, like, because you've got, you know, like, you know, you got Spooky and Furby and such, you know, running the broadcast. They're gonna make sure that the old school stuff gets some screen time. So like, you know, I tuned in a little bit for some of the like Third Strike. They had some alpha play going on here. You know, high quality, intense action with some of the older titles like your CVS2s and such. That I think you know was fun to watch. There's still some good quality stuff going on there for those kind of games. And Guilty Gear is still going strong too. So Scene seems to be really supporting the new content and wanting to see more happen down the line. But yeah, Arc System Works they are staying busy and paid between working on the things that they are currently, and then you know, of course, other titles like King of Fighters and such are doing all right too. But Guilty Gear has been like the standard kind of, I guess, with the since we've hit next gen. When it comes to fighters, and I think it's kind of told everyone to kind of get their shit together, moving forward here, and it's paid off. So hopefully we'll see a lot of that kind of energy from Capcom moving forward with some friendly tactics.
You know what else was fun to watch? You know what else was fun to watch? The ACS in Melbourne. I know, Asif. I know. you sent the tweet, and I feel like I had to.
That was a good tweet. That was probably better than the tournament, but yeah, that was a good tweet.
Well, first off, let's throw Asif's tweet up there first, if we can definitely do that, because that was fucking hilarious.
It was a pretty fire tweet.
That dude's face was just like, where am I and what have I done?
It was just such a lie, because they're like, look at all these smiles, and then like I zoom in on one of the players, and it's like that I'm dying inside kind of face. And I'm just like, I don't know if this is true, guys. It seems kind of false. Seems like not everyone's smiling. I'm just saying.
It's true. I'll say this: the competition, from what I watched this morning, looked really good. And you know, the Chiefs Esports Club, $20,000. We're never going to see that money in Smash ever. But at least Halo has money and $15,000 in ACS points, which is awesome. And I'm glad
Look at that. That is the face of Halo competitive esports. Like they're like, look at all the smiles, and then I'm like, that guy's not smiling.
Yeah, good hype.
Like, does that guy look like he's having fun, Rod?
He's not having. If he's having, in fact, the opposite of fun, my friend. He is.
I think he went on to win, or like place well, and he's looking like that.
But at what cost? Like, what did he lose by winning though?
That's what I'm saying, man. Can you imagine grinding this game right now?
Playing the game and not seeing any kind of update in forever.
Oh, we got updates, Denny. They canceled split screen co-op, they delayed co-op, and they delayed Forge. So this is a game that's going to take almost a year to ship with feature parity with Halo 2.
Everything that they were talking about.
Oh, actually, no, it won't have feature parity with Halo 2 because Halo 2 had split screen.
Everything that they were talking about at the beginning of the year is coming soon.
We rarely ever talk about changing review scores. What's happened with Halo has created a conversation among the editors at Shacknews about this. Because this is a bait and switch at this point.
It's pretty messy.
Wait. Just go look at my previous rants. They're the same. That's how I feel.
All right, hold on. I'm pulling it up right now.
I was like, I'm over it. I'm pretty close to deleting this game off my computer. Wait. Good for them, man. I don't want to hate on the players. Like, you hate on the game, but not the players. It's not their fault that they're good at this. And what were you supposed to do? This is the Halo that has Microsoft pushing it right now.
Yeah,
man. This is one of those things where I was like, the tournament operators are making money in Smash. They're not making money in Halo. No way. Not with these prize pools. But Microsoft is used to losing money on video games. So this is not...
This entire, I don't know. It's just very strange.
Where are your recent rants?
I don't know if they've addressed the community.
Look, it's the same shit, God. They told us... Fine, you're going to get me to rant. They told us, Rod, that we can't fix the multiplayer bugs because we had to divert our effort towards the co-op shipping. And then they delayed the co-op.
Yeah. The thing that people are waiting for, to play with their friends on release. And then...
So, what was the point? Like, what are they going to blame not fixing the multiplayer bullet lag on next, is my point. Like, it's like, okay, once you ship co-op and Forge a year late, what are you going to blame for why you're not fixing multiplayer? Because, like, at the core of this problem is horrible desync, terrible bullet detection and, tick rates, and poor servers. Like, it's a bad online multiplayer experience. Yeah. So bad that I actually played Splitgate the other week.
Oh, wow.
Because I felt like playing a shooter, and I was like, I'm not going to play Halo, so we played Splitgate. And then, literally a week after I did that, they announced that they're stopping development of Splitgate.
Yeah.
These are dark times here, Rod. I might just go back to the Master Chief Collection.
I feel like the Halo situation is like the one, like, people have talked about like the acquisitions and everything else happening, and I still have some faith in some of these first party titles down the line being something that's actually worth it. But I feel like the one thing that scares me the most is how Halo's been handled. Whereas it's the largest franchise for them.
Can you imagine Sony treating God of War like this, or Nintendo treating Mario Odyssey like this?
Yeah,
shipping a third of a game, and it sucks, and then being like, oh yeah, we're gonna make this part free to play because it sucks too, and then actually we're not even gonna ship this thing. You've had 2 leads quit this game. You had the person in charge of multiplayer development quit the game. It's very simple. 343 should have this game taken away, and not like just this game. They should not be allowed to touch this franchise again. Because going to your point, Denny, what has Microsoft done in the last year? They acquired the COD developers. They acquired the id Software development team, which is like, I don't know, maybe one of the best competitive developers ever. Like between COD and Quake, right? Between COD and Quake, you cannot ship this. You should not ship this in the state that it's in. Like, it didn't move consoles. You could have waited.
They definitely could have waited.
They could have waited. Like,
especially
why did it have to come out?
With the product not even being available to people to buy in the first place.
And mind you, this was already delayed a year. This is what we got after a year of delays.
Yeah.
And there was like, here's a half-ass multiplayer solution. Here's a half-ass single-player solution. And I still maintain this. And that's why I get so riled up about this. The single player of that game is fun. And it gets really good towards the end. Very good level design. And like, it's great. It's a good story. And I normally don't give a shit about the story. But you know what I was looking forward to is playing it in co-op with friends. Like I've done every Halo. Except 5, because that game sucked. But like, at some point, hold these people accountable. And I know that the leads are leaving, but the people in charge of 343 just need to stop making Halo games. Like, you own Quake, you own Doom, you own COD, you own Overwatch. Take any of those teams and have them make a Halo, and it would be better. And forget this. Do you think it's one of those?
Do you think it's a matter of like, and I know you guys brought it earlier, like Mortal Kombat, where it felt like, you know, they focus more on like the campaign and less on like the competitive viability. Like, I mean, it's a good looking game, but it's not much of a game to be played. It's not an enjoyable experience. Like, it feels like Halo kind of did something similar. It's like the campaign's really good. We're returning to form if we've ever even fell out of form, but our competitiveness is like,
I mean, you gotta keep your promises. You can't just be saying things and not deliver, especially when you got direct competition from your previous developer. You got Bungie you got Bungie out here just doing what they're doing and they're looking good doing it.
Yeah, like Bungie is not free of sin at all. Like they got a whole other issue going on with their rank based multiplayer right now, but it's nowhere near as bad. And they also just shipped a hell of a raid. You know what I mean? Like, and they've done it
you can
back
still
to back.
Play together compared to Halo, where I can't do co-op right now. With anyone.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Bungie is just cranking out really solid raid experiences, And it's like, I kind of was like, what if co-op for... I agree that Destiny 2 is in very good shape right now. So to contrast the two, the creators of Halo, Bungie, and what they're doing right now with what Microsoft has done with Halo, that should scare people about what's going to happen to COD. Here's another example. Do you guys remember Rare? That acquisition?
Yes.
Do you remember what they did for 10 years? Jack shit. They made some Kinect games. They made one of the worst Conquer games ever. They ported a really shitty version of Banjo. But it was like years of them wasting money.
Like that Xbox Microsoft team back then was fucking awful. I mean,
they're still awful.
Yeah, but that was the folks the people that were pushing that Kinect and everything else there. Like that was a different time. I feel like. I mean, yes, there's
hardware people are still there.
There's still the hardware side, but I don't feel like Phil was going to take the IPs that direction again.
No, it was Don Matrick, and like he stepped down after the Xbox One failed, and I know Phil had to come in halfway through the Xbox One. I'm giving Phil the benefit of the doubt here, but I don't trust Microsoft at all. Like, Microsoft bought Skype. Does anyone use Skype anymore?
No, I don't.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, that's a different thing.
I just logged into it like a week ago and seen like messages from like 2013.
Look, I'm like 4,000 years old, but do you guys remember Hotmail?
Oh yeah, I got Hotmail.
Denny, you remember Hotmail?
Yes, there's Hotmail.
Number one email client. Everyone was using it. No one uses it now. Microsoft acquired them. Garbage now. Do you guys use LinkedIn? No.
Well, I mean, okay, I get what you're saying.
Microsoft acquired LinkedIn for $30 billion.
I feel like it depends on.
I'd have it.
When was the last time you guys used a Nokia phone? Oh, that's a Microsoft acquisition too, guys.
Look, I feel like it depends on how much is Xbox and how much
bullshit. This is ridiculous. This is Halo we're talking about.
How much is Xbox and how much is Microsoft, and how much are those two things coexisting in a scenario where someone's making the calls that need to happen, and other ones are just buying stuff.
No,
I feel like that's where things are going to lean into. Like, how much is are we getting the value out of what we're paying for, and creative teams are feeling comfortable enough to put something out there that's new, or how much of it is we're going to turn to Ubisoft and we're just
I will come on here and say I'm wrong if 3 years from now we look at the first party lineups of the big three and we are impressed by Microsoft. But I have a feeling that Scalebound, remember that?
Yeah, that was depressing.
That looked cool as shit. Now let's cancel that. It's like there's something going on in between Phil Spencer and the top of the company where really shitty decisions are made. And like I want to give them the benefit of the doubt, but look at what they did to the Gears franchise. Like Gears 3 was the pinnacle of that franchise. Judgment kind of sucked ass, but like holy crap, 4 and 5 are terrible in comparison to the original trilogy. So, like, there's an example of a completely different IP that they acquired from Epic. They didn't acquire Epic, thank God. Like, all they got was that IP. But, like, they have taken that IP and thrown it out the window. Like, you had Conquer, which is, like, perfect brand for Xbox, by the way, and they haven't done shit with Conquer. Like, I worry that when people get acquired by Microsoft, when companies get acquired by Microsoft, there is an immediate brain drain because people get the money hat and they get the hell out of Dodge. And then all you have left is the IP without any of the talent that created it. And, like, it takes 3 years for that to happen, or 5 years, or 10, however long it takes for these stock options to vest. But it happens. And
we're going to find out real quick because there's...
With COD.
Between COD... Then you've got, Redfall coming early next year. You've got Starfield. You've got Hellblade 2.
Yep.
There's going to be a few solid IPs that,
and
Hellblade tell 2, you the level of quality.
Hellblade 2 looks awesome, and Ninja Theory does not seem like the kind of company that would compromise on their quality based on how awesome Hellblade 1 is. I think it's called... Hellblade 2 is like Senua's something. But yeah, I'm excited for that game, and it looks amazing. But like,
you gotta see them. You gotta see them follow through. That's the main thing. After Halo, especially, like there's gotta be some
going back to Halo Infinite though. The worst decision they made was supporting legacy Xbox Ones. They shouldn't have done that, and like it should have been
the same trap that Cyberpunk did.
Yeah, and you should have supported. It's a freaking your hardware. Like you're trying to move. I don't. They seem aimless. They're on one hand, Xbox only cares about Game Pass, and then that makes sense to support Xbox One because units, right? But like the things that you had to do, the compromises made to get Infinite to run on an Xbox One, not an Xbox One S or X, the fucking One, 10-year-old system. You make compromises that show up on PC and show up on Xbox Series X. And it's a bad experience. And like Halo should not be in this state. That's really my point. Like this is your flagship franchise and you are treating it like this. There's never been a time in history that Nintendo treated the Mario IP like this. And I don't mean like Mario Party. I'm talking about the mainline Mario games have never ever been this bad.
I mean, if I wanted to compare the two, I would say that Xbox is more like Netflix and Sony is more like HBO.
Yeah, wow.
That's very true. And it's a quantity over quality thing. And Microsoft has the money and they're flexing on that front, but they're doing it because they want everyone to be on Game Pass. They don't really seem to care if your game sucks or not. They just want it on Game Pass. But the problem with Game Pass, and I'm glad you brought up Netflix, they're going to have to raise the price of Game Pass over time. And then,
it's going to have to be a switch. But I think that they're going to wait until there's enough IP out there that they are proud of.
Yeah, but if the quality of the IP sucks, because like one of the big selling points for me, like why I had Game Pass last year, was that I got the Halo Infinite story mode for free, or as part of the subscription, right? Or I got, I don't know what the hell else I downloaded with Game Pass, but like you know what I mean. Like there's plenty of games you can get your money's worth.
I think when the Bethesda stuff is ready to go, then they're gonna maybe consider the price increase. There's gotta be some kind of big, the flagship games that they're gonna put on there.
But going back to Bungie versus 343, who bought Bungie? Sony.
Yeah, they had to make some kind of moves. And
that was a smart move. Also, like Sony realizing, hey, our games could sell on PC. I think Sony is entering the spaces that Microsoft already entered at the perfect time. Whereas Microsoft, like, they make shitty products, man. They just do. Like, I can't name... Do you like Windows 10? Does anyone like using Windows 10?
Not really.
Do you have a Microsoft
Windows
phone?
10,
Does anyone use a Microsoft phone? Does anyone have a Surface? Do you guys have Surface tablets?
I do have a Surface, yes.
Okay. Do you like your Surface?
I mean, I like it for what it is, yeah.
Okay, fine. That's the one thing they've made in the last 10 years that isn't worth... I'm just saying. Like,
I mean, the operating system, yes, is annoying, but I mean,
there you go. There you go. Like
but
it goes back to Windows kind of being ass.
Well, I feel like Sony wants they're starting to understand the importance of the PC space, whereas I feel like Xbox is more into moving into the cloud space now, where like we're gonna make sure you can play this with anything you want to. You got your tablet, you got your laptop, you got any kind of screen. Right now, you're traveling. Like they want to be like that Apple space where like I can bring my Game Pass. I don't have to worry about having a Switch on me if I don't have the games to play or the space for it. I'm going on a train or something like that. Real easy and simple. Or like you have a scenario where you have friends or family and you're going to someone else's house and you're not trying to strap in an Xbox with you. Those kind of scenarios I feel like they're preparing more for, where you'll be able to put that the same way they were trying to pitch that smart glass at one point. And the
two-screen like, experience. Yeah.
Like I think that's where what they want to lean into, where that's going to be the future of what Xbox and Microsoft are trying to do, where everything is connected to a certain extent.
It's such a weird departure from what Xbox was, which was it was supposed to be the living room computer. You know, and like it has completely moved away from that now. Now it's more just a terminal for a series of cloud infrastructure. I get it.
But I feel like they saw how successful Nintendo was with just the idea of portable anything. They were like, if we get any element of that space going, we can sell more Microsoft products. You know, get that Surface.
Game Pass
Yeah, you know, you get that next Surface, and it comes with a year Game Pass. You know, to play on your tablet or whatever. Those kind of tie-ins are built in for Microsoft to take advantage of as they continue to buy up half the planet.
My fantasy league is drafting right now.
Oh, okay. Well, mine was drafted during the wrestling pay-per-view. Like, someone got suplexed through a table, and I was like, Matt Stafford, I don't trust you. But it was happening in real time.
It's my turn to nominate. Who should I nominate for the first pick in the draft?
Well, the first pick?
Yeah.
Cooper Kupp was my first pick.
But this is the thing. I'm not picking. It's an auction draft.
Oh.
I'm gonna do Deshaun Watson.
Nominate for one. This is going off the
wheels. I nominate. I'm about to nominate Sauce Talk here really quick, friends. I think I'm gonna wrap up. I think that's gonna wrap up the esports segments here. But of course, we got to jump into some quick Sauce Talk, and then of course we got to talk Cortex here. So we're gonna run into Steve Tendo's time more than we typically do. So Sauce Talk number one. This one came courtesy of the man in charge himself, the man with the briefcase. Cannabis drink pops up as companies bet on the growing market for legal marijuana, friends. And just the opening sentence to this link is, you can smoke it, vape it, and eat it. Now, as more U.S. states legalize recreational marijuana, companies are betting people will also want to drink it too. I watched a friend drink a cannabis drink, a weed drink, whatever, and it absolutely put him on his ass. I have a friend named, I think I may have talked about him before. His name is Abdallah Ahmed, but we call him Diddy for short. We were coming back from Complex Con in Long Beach, and he tried to bring this weed drink over back to where we were going. I was like, bro, we're going back to the Midwest. There's absolutely no way that's coming with you.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm going to try it. So already he's going to get stopped because his name is Abdallah, and he got stopped, which is extremely fucked up. And he had to, they said, you need to either throw this drink away or you need to chug it. And he chugged it. And holy shit, I have never seen somebody go from this to this in a matter of minutes, and it put him absolutely on his ass. But I think, I mean, I don't smoke, but I would try something like this. I do like to drink. Maybe this is the way for me to like step into, you know, recreational use for something.
I mean, I live in a state where medical marijuana is legal. I have a license to have it or whatever, permit, and I don't smoke either, but THC beverages are awesome, and CBD beverages are awesome. They're faster acting. Like, as someone who has Christian McCaffrey for $63, good. But yeah, for someone who you know, needs to take something for pain medication, like in lieu of taking an opioid, I think marijuana is a great replacement for that. So I endorse that. I think it's like the Wild West right now when it comes to beverages, because there's no federal legalization of this. So, like, I know Illinois marijuana is legal, Michigan it's legal. You can't cross state borders, even though they're legal in both states, because the act of doing that breaks federal law. So that creates like a whole nightmare when it comes to production and distribution of these things. So like the state of Ohio has a law where you have to grow the marijuana, cultivate the marijuana, and can the product all in the state of Ohio. So from seed to store is their rule. And that just creates a nightmare, because if you're a company and you're like, I'm going to enter Ohio in the marijuana beverage space, you're not. You're growing weed there. You're doing all sorts of stuff, and it's like a huge investment. Jonathan Taylor just went for $70. This is insane. I'm sorry, guys. Like,
I mean,
okay.
The fantasy hype is kind of ridiculous on this man, but you know, it is a run first team.
I like Jonathan Taylor a lot, not for $70.
No.
I don't think there's a single player I would take for $70. Justin Jefferson, though, I'll give $12 for that guy. But
that'll be a steal.
He's gonna go higher. But like, he's got Kirk Cousins throwing. Anyway, sorry, I'm distracting you.
That's okay.
I mean, marijuana beverages are fucking awesome. Like, all I can say is marijuana beverages are awesome. If you're in a state where they're legal and you're okay to take marijuana, you should try it.
I think it's a great alternative to edibles. Like, my problem with gummies or any other edibles is that they have to go through your digestive system. It takes a little more time. Like a gummy or whatever you want to say, it could take you an hour to 2 hours for it to even hit you. To your point about your friend drinking it, you start to feel the effects of a marijuana beverage within 20 to 40 minutes. So to me, it feels more like smoking weed. But it's obviously less damaging to your lungs. And yeah, it does magic for people who have chronic pain and stuff, or cancer patients need to create appetite. Like, marijuana is great for that stuff, and I'm a huge evangelist for it. And yeah, I think the beverage industry specifically is like, it is the Wild West right now. There's all sorts of stuff happening there. So how much should I bid for Cooper Cup? He's already $48.
I want to see what the price is for some of these drinks. I didn't see like a.
I was putting at least 50.
Okay, I bid 52 on him.
I could be down to purchase a thing of these. I mean, my anxiety is so bad that I can't smoke at all. I know we've talked about that a few times, but I mean,
would also say there's different strains for different folks.
Yeah,
right.
You may be someone who benefits from taking indica. 56? That seems a little much. I'll let it go. I'm gonna let these people overpay for these folks.
Because
then I'll be coming out.
Cup guaranteed, you know. I mean, my man is not going out without some touches. It's not happening.
I like him, but not for $55. I'm good. Because like, I'm gonna get Allen Robinson the second for $20, and he's gonna get He's gonna get a lot of touches too, because he's not in the Bears anymore. Hey, we should go, because isn't it like Steve time? Oh yeah, Cortex.
Well, yeah, we have one more, but we'll save it for another day, because it's just more Rick and Morty food talk, which we've talked enough about when it was cool with Chef Mike. So big shout out to Chef Mike if you ever go back and watch these.
Yeah, for sure.
Austin Eckler for 52. That's too much.
Let's jump into Cortex really quick here.
Yep.
Look, I had Eckler
also,
should
we have a fantasy football section? Why? Well, is that a thing?
Is that an electronic sport? It's sports.
Does it count?
I'm using the internet.
I mean, that's my type of fun. I mean, I'm just saying. I'm just saying.
Sure I could work in something. Maybe.
I have been trying to pivot every Shacknews Twitch show to a sports talk show for years.
I mean,
yes, I'm down. Derrick Henry. I fuck with Derrick Henry. That guy's a beast.
Yeah, we can stay healthy. That's a good pick.
$47.
Well, it goes without saying that 8 Mikey won Shacknews for the week. I mean, of course, 8 Mikey is just an absolute monster. And
look at Greg put in that work though. See
Greg, Greg's home sick this week, but definitely did some work. 8 Mikey won, but only by like 106,000. So he's slipping. Someone got Derrick Henry for $54. 54 is just a little much, because like you said, injury prone.
Yeah. Big shout out to Greg as well. Greg, I know you're at home and you're
hopefully you feel better.
Hope you feel better, man. It's, we need you, man, and we love you, and we hope that you feel better. COVID sucks. That shit is terrible.
Yeah, it's still a thing. I hope everyone who went to PAX had a safe PAX, traveled home safely.
PAX play.
PAX Arena. Yeah, there's a Twitter account, PAX Pox, that follows me. Yeah, they're pretty hilarious. $51 for Dalvin Cook.
That's high.
We had Greg Burke in second place, and of course we had our very own Rumpo, Bill Lavoie. I believe that's who that is. Big shout out to him. Came in at third place. 8 Mikey won Shaq Pets. Mad Dog Delphi 97 won at Chatty. 16,315 points. But the fun doesn't stop there, friends. It does not, because we gotta talk about who won for the month.
Oh no, I bid 54 for Dalvin. I got Dalvin.
But you wanted to go over the 50 for Cooper? I mean, man, look.
I know. It's because I see how they're spending now, and I'm like, shit, I should get something. If I don't get him, like...
See, the thing is, you gotta look at the schedule. All right? Cooper's about to eat. That's what I'm about to... You gotta look at the head-to-head schedule for the next couple weeks.
Like, I honestly think...
Week 1's gonna be rough, but then after that is...
Jamar Chase for $52. That's high.
Yeah, that's a bit rough. You still got a couple of sophomores now that are gonna be decent. Like what's his name?
That's what I'm saying.
Brandon Ayuk in the 49ers.
I'm a seller of the Bengals. Almost wholesale.
I mean, Joe Mixon's still solid. I would fuck with Joe Mixon. Give him something.
Also, really quick, 8 Mikey, 1 Shacknews for the month of August 2022.
Yeah, look at how Greg rose up to 5th place for the month with the man with astounding week.
It's my turn. Briefcase in 2nd place. He's coming. Bill in 3rd place. Surfer Boy Sam in 4th place, and then Greg Burkleton Burke. So Greg has been on a tear here as of late. We have to.
Yeah, I can tell you, Greg's definitely been playing the game.
He's got that COVID Super Saiyan going on right now. It's swiping away.
Yep.
We got some decent. You know, I like that point spread out there between the article, the chatty and the Shack picks.
Sam's a multi-tool player. Clearly, Stephon Diggs $54. I'm good.
Yeah.
My whole thing, Denny, and
you can get Cordero Patterson for that kind of money.
Yeah, because we're not in a league together. I can tell you this. Like, if you're in a cold weather place, I'm not going to draft you as a wide receiver.
That's fair.
It's just not happening. Patrick Mahomes, $14. I'm good.
Yeah. Well, friends, I think that's going to wrap it there. I think what we just found out is that we need a fantasy football corner of the wide world. That might be a thing.
Look, there's still time to start a league.
I already pitched the show. I pitched the show to you guys. 2 Browns don't make a white.
Oh
Come on.
God.
All right, boss. You got
it.
2 Browns don't make a white.
Ambulance, but not for me.
All right, let's get out of here. All right, it's time to go.
All right, y'all got to keep it locked right here. We got Steve Tyndall coming up next. Fantasy football might be coming to the wide world of electronic sports. So we got some changes coming soon. Myself, the man with the briefcase, and Denny Von Doom are going to have some more meetings here in the coming week and get it all hashed out. But in the meantime, keep it locked right here. All the action that is Shacknews is coming back to you here right as this wraps. Steve 10 on the way.
Peace.
See you guys.
Later. CD.